Hello, welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for The Oily American, and with me today is Jarvis himself, my good friend S.C. MacPeter. Say hi.
Hello, your commentary, your review now, sir.
Thank you, Jarvis. Thank you. But a few bits of info to get underway. So as mentioned, this is a review for The Oily American, released on the 10th of July, 1954. It's the 715th in the series, and it's directed by Bob McKimson. You can find this fully restored on the Looney Tunes Gone Collection Volume 6 DVD set. It would have been mastered in HD, but sadly a HD version has not surfaced yet. Hopefully it will one day, despite the actual material contained within. You will not find this on YouTube. It is a copyrighted cartoon, and I doubt even Warner's would upload it on their own official channel either. So definitely get that set if you want this short. In case you haven't seen this one, and it is probably, I would say, is a very obscure short if you really think about it, since it's rarely seen. But you have Mohican. So he's a Native American. He's struck oil. He's got this massive mansion, but still chooses to live in a teepee. He orders a moose just so he can hunt it in his own forest room. And there's this whole moose versus Mohican thing. It is bizarre. And we'll go through why the writer of this short, why he did this sort of a short, because this is absolutely bonkers. A few bits of trivia. So the title is a play on the term early American. So the early American. So it should be pretty straightforward. It's one of McKimson's one-shot ideas. He tends to do one per year. Like he will do next year the whole idea, which I absolutely adore. I can't wait to deal with that one.
McKimson, I think his contract had more miscellaneous cartoons than Freeling, and I think Jones got as many too. So I guess Freeling was more of the character guy compared to those two. At least at this period. After the shutdown, it gets a lot more inconsistent.
Yeah, and a few other references that people may not be aware of. So this one probably more people would. The whole name Mohican, haha. It's a reference to the Mohican peoples, and there was even the movie from 1936 called The Last of the Mohicans, and there was another version in the 90s as well. So that's what that's referencing. There's two very obscure things. I looked up Indian Love Call, and sure enough, it appears to be a gag on the romantic song Indian Love Call, and it was from a musical from the 20s, I think Rosemary. So very obscure reference there.
Definitely coordinated between McKimson and Stalling.
And again, the gag works, and we'll go through that gag when we get to it. It works even if you don't know the reference, but I thought that was interesting. But that Butler, if you're aware of the actor Arthur Treacher, he used to play a lot of these Butler-type roles. And if you look at his photo and compare the noses, it's quite clear that that's who they were imitating in this short. This one, when I rewatched it, because I saw it once on Golden Collection, completely forgot about it. I was like, oh yeah, it's this one when I was rewatching it. And my goodness, what a crazy idea. I mean, who on earth would think of having a rich, diminutive Native American hunting a small moose inside his mansion that has a forest room that's all paid for by oil on his property? Who comes up with it? Well, we all know who, right?
Sid Marcus. This reeks of Sid Marcus, who came back. I guess Ted Pierce was freelancing by this point. So McKimson would have Pierce write a lot of his cartoons. And then, well, this time he was pretty much out for the most part. And again, McKimson also got help from some of his own animators. Like his brother Charles McKimson helped with one. Like Ben Washam helped with Gone Batty. Phil DeLaura, who would do all those Daffy and Elmer comics, helped with Quackshot later in this year. And Sid Marcus was his main writer for a lot of the time. And Sid Marcus had a very odd style of humor, mainly that he was not afraid to do new things. He had a very particular sense of humor that was pretty retrograde. All of the jokes and the timing of them feel pretty dated, but he was a good writer. He just needed a good director behind him, which McKimson kind of was, but he was more suited for someone like Art Davis, who he was very good friends with, having worked with him at Screen Gems and in New York. And again, they were briefly together before Davis's unit was ultimately shut down, and they produced Bye Bye Bluebeard, and they were going to do A Ham and a Roll, which, again, I think that would have been quite a bit better and up there with Two Gophers in Texas had it actually been done under Davis.
Yeah, so this one just absolutely bonkers. But Sid Marcus, you said, would do this kind of idea at other studios, right?
Yeah, like in Topsy Turvy, another Columbia cartoon of that time, he does the short Native American character, and that may have originated much earlier in his career, but I can't think of any at the moment. But he looks identical to Mohican in this cartoon, and he may have even been called Mohican in those cartoons. Much later at the Lance studio, when he was directing there in the 60s, he was doing cartoons with short human Native Americans that looked like this one again. So it was definitely something he liked to do. Why? I guess he just found them funny when they were short. I guess because they looked less threatening, or just the whole Warner cartoons having an atmosphere that made the cartoons better. Also came up with the small moves to compliment him. Because you usually think of Native Americans as being savage, unfortunately, because of how Westerns portray them. But here, he doesn't come off as any real threat other than just his love of hunting. And again, they decide to just make it all eccentric by making him very rich, but still very much in his style, which kind of carried over to something like Jim Tyre and Stuffy Derma later. And the Butler also was carried into similar cartoons at Lance later on, like Skin Folks with Woody Woodpecker that Sid Marcus did.
So at the end of the day, it's a weird idea, but you make a good point. Usually Native Americans around this time were pictured to be these uneducated, savage, that kind of unfortunate thing. But here, it's like we're actually seeing a rather successful Native American. We're seeing someone that's actually, all right, very quirky, of course, still deciding to live in a teepee, even though he's got a mansion and all that sort of stuff. But it's nice to see a more positive version, even if the design leaves a bit to be desired, and of course the voice acting and so on.
They still go on with all the stereotypes, but at the very least, he's portrayed as being successful. And I guess in his own stereotyped way, sticking to his culture, he isn't assimilated into the top class as much as some others would.
Yeah, exactly. But I reckon we take a look at this short from start to finish, and we'll see whether this really obscure short, and again, I do think can be defined as an obscure short. I just don't see many people knowing too much about this one, really, unless they're maybe older. And
this one doesn't air on TV anymore. It didn't get too much home media prominence, but it is a funny enough cartoon for what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And right away, I do like the design work. I know you're a little bit critical of it, and that's mainly due with the actual colors and stuff, but I do like that whole opening bit, that ridiculous thing with his address there, and of course it's TB Terrace. I mean, right? But I like the look of a lot of this short. It's not perfect, but I like it. I like it, especially the beginning.
Yeah, I like the design of it. It's just Richard Thomas. He really was conservative with the way he did background colors at Hanna-Barbera and here, where he really just said, okay, skies are blue, the grass is green, we're going to stick with how they look in real life. Where someone like Maurice Noble, he would play with a yellow sky or a purple sky if it was at night. But here it's just a plain blue. And again, all the backgrounds kind of just look the same in the McKimson cartoons for the most part, which I think sort of devalued his cartoons, especially because he kind of did want to keep them grounded conservative, which even if it looks nice, wasn't as fun as the other units could be.
I think it'll be interesting seeing a HD version of this, seeing the colors maybe pop out a little bit more. But anyway, that's another thing entirely. But I like how over the top they do make this, because they usually do this sort of a gag with the rich Texans at the time because of the oil boom in Texas. So usually you'll see just this overdone thing. In fact, McKimson even did a short dealing with the rich Texan against Bugs Bunny. So he's really explored that idea. But here, I think he goes one step further with the whole oil gags, even with oil fountains. Why? I don't know. But anyway.
They just want to emphasize that this man is wealthy and living it.
Yeah. But I do wonder if this opening might have worked better. Maybe if they didn't show the beginning that a Native American was living there, maybe this would have been probably more interesting if they just had it where the delivery van is driving in. You think it's maybe going to be a rich Texan. You get all this build up, and then you see it's a TP and it's actually this smaller Native American. I don't know. I think that might have worked better for this show.
That would have been funnier, but that usually wasn't something they did in this period. Even if they didn't highlight that in the opening title and the name of this cartoon, people would have seen the lobby card that probably had Mohican on the cover, so they would have known. I guess this is what they would say at the time. Oh, this star's an Indian.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. But I don't know. I just think maybe story-wise it might have worked that teensy bit better, but is it a big deal? No, but I just think it might have been better. One reference there goes, put dirty wampum here. And for those of us who were unaware, because I wasn't aware, I had to look this up, a wampum is like these cylindrical beads made by some Native Americans where it's either shells strung together as decoration or used as money. And I'm assuming they're going for the money reference here because it's like, put dirty money here. Because Chuck Jones even did a similar gag involving a rich person in Daffy Dilly where he goes, put dirty money here, and there's like a trash can outside. So it's a similar idea, I think. And yeah, we hear, of course, the doorbell is where in the money, because what else is the doorbell going to be? But anyway, we do hear then quintet in E major, OP 13, which is what you probably hear in these kind of scenarios. Rich, fancy mansion.
Yes?
Here it is, Jarvis. You want I should bring it in?
Please do. I shall notify the master it has arrived.
There are tons of backgrounds here as the butler takes ages to reach Mo, which I gotta admit, I like how long it takes because it really builds up everything. It's like, how big is this place? I think it's funny. Did you think it was done right, or do you think it goes too long?
I think it was done right. I'm glad the whole inside doesn't look like a teepee, which they may have done at other studios.
Yes, they could have gone that way. And I do like the idea in the end where it's like, he's got this mansion. Yeah, he still chooses to live like his people, I'm assuming. So, it's a nice little touch. So the butler ends up going there, which I'm going to name him Jarvis because later on we do find out his name is Jarvis because that's what he signs the thing with, which we'll get to in a moment.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if that was on the storyboard.
Good morning, sir. I have jolly good news. The animal has arrived for your daily hunt.
What we hunt today?
Moose, sir.
The delivery turns out it's a moose, and the whole idea here is that Mo likes hunting. He's hunted all these other animals, and now it's his time to hunt a moose. So they do the most ridiculous thing, which I was like going, what? When Jarvis turns on the water and they end up going in a canoe, when they could have easily just walked over to the forest room. No. He's eccentric. He's got to do it this way, right?
Yeah.
And why is there even a forest room for that matter? I mean, you'd have maybe, I don't know, a nature reserve or something. I know some celebrities have homes and they have massive nature reserves. That makes sense. But here it's just really eccentric.
I'm surprised this whole house isn't a greenhouse.
In any case, we see that there's a moose there. And I like how there's the build-up where it's like, oh, this moose looks really mean, looks really big, looks like a normal moose. And sure enough, Mo shoots the arrow and nope, it's a small moose.
You're not afraid? Let he big moose charge out.
Ready, sir?
Me ready.
It actually reminds me of that Disney short, Maurice the Midget Moose.
It did remind me of that a little bit, but again, I feel like the midget idea was Sid Marcus just doing what he found personally funny, which was midgets and, again, ethnic stereotypes of Native Americans. But I really did find that the twist of having the moose also be really tiny funny because it would have been a lot more inept at another studio, but here it works well. They kind of do play with that idea that they're both really tiny. Especially, I love later on the whole shadow shot of him and then the moose is on the table.
And then we've established what's going to happen. It's Mo versus this moose for the rest of the short, pretty much. And as much as the stereotype can get a little bit grating to hear from Mel Blanc, I do like his delivery of, this is a moose?
This a moose?
That gave me a few chuckles.
Yeah, makes me think that he's actually going to eat the moose.
Yeah, so sure enough, as I said, the hunt is on, and now the two court each other, so it's a fair idea. He's got the moose call, but then he's got the Indian love call, and sure enough, the tree ends up falling over, and it hits Jarvis, and Jarvis says in his flat tone,
Timber.
over.
Yeah, I thought that was all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sort of is just sort of a back and forth of hunting gags from now, but at least it's set up not generically and it has something different going on at least, not just Elmer's hunting bugs or something like that.
Yeah. And we even get a very surreal gag. So then the moose somehow escapes into the painting and Mo doesn't. So that's like a similar to the Cody gag, really, if you think about it. But then the Moose jumps back out of the painting. He escapes the forest room, which I'll admit I was surprised. I thought maybe the rest of the short will just be in this forest room and nothing else, but no, it takes place also in the rest of the house. And we get such a slow start with this short, and yet the pace really picked up, especially in this chase scene through the hallway and then back into the main room.
Yeah, if you're going to take like a third of the cartoon before he starts hunting this tiny moose, you better start having the gags come fast and funny.
Yeah, definitely. And sure enough, Mo starts burning is like, me smell Mohican, me last Mohican, and he's burning. It's like, all right, sure. All right, you just go with that.
Me smell Mohican burning. Me last Mohican. Must be me. Yeah.
So then we get, this is really oddly structured because now it's pretty much Mo up against the moose, but he constantly fails and ends up pissing off the butler, Jarvis. So we first see a very quick gag. Mo uses the arrow on the butler, and Butler says, "Your arrow, sir." All right, fine. It's a quick gag.
Sid Marcus would do that later again. That's in Skin, folks. Just the butler being angry but a little contempt for his master.
Yep. And then next up, we then see the slingshot. Ends up the same. "Your pallet, sir." And of course, he gets injured. And I like the fact that there is now continuity. You see him as he gets more and more injured. The injuries to stay on. They don't go away, which I thought was a nice touch. Then we see the tomahawk. Same deal. He goes after the moose with the tomahawk. "Your Thomas Hawk, sir." I like that delivery.
Your Thomas Hawk, sir.
So, all right.
Yeah.
But usually these sorts of things are done in rule of 3. Here we got like a rule of 5, which is very odd. But anyway, all right, sure. We see the cannon gag. So the cannon goes through a tube. The moose turns it around. The cannon comes back and hits the butler, which I like the end result here, though. It looks like he's lost his head. I thought that was good.
Your cannonball, sir.
That was funny. But sure enough, again, his name is Jarvis because he quits. And who can blame him, right? I think he's just had enough of all these hunting shenanigans, right?
Yeah. Hey, don't blame him. I mean, this is definitely an eccentric rich guy. He could hire a lot more people than just Jarvis to handle this. But I guess he's strict with his money like Scrooge.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, very eccentric. And sure enough, Mo's like, you know what? I'm a lone hunter, okay? And they leave the house. And to finish off, Mo's like, all right, I'm going to shoot at this moose, which we now never see again. It ends up on Jarvis's helicopter. I don't know whose helicopter that is. If he's quit, why would he be allowed to use a helicopter? But whatever. Who cares? And sure enough, Jarvis is shot through with an arrow and ends up spanking Mo, and that's it. We end there.
One thing I can say about Sid Marcus's run is that he often wrote such complicated ideas that they often didn't end up well. I could easily see something like Bye Bye Bluebeard not wrapping up as easily and just ending on a non sequitur, not resolving the relationship between Porky and the mouse.
I feel as though with this short is that he had a genuinely bonkers idea because it starts off all right.
I just don't think McKimson was a story editor like Jones, really, or maybe even Davis, especially since Davis and Marcus were good friends and they could work off each other a lot better and make better cartoons because of that. But this is satisfying enough, I would say.
Yeah.
Mo gets a comeuppance for being so eccentric.
Yeah, so I think, honestly, right up until the rule of 5 that we have in this short, I think it works pretty well. But then it sort of loses its way. It just becomes an extended gag involving Mo and his butler, and that's it. Yeah, the whole focus on the hunt, it just gets kind of lost in all of that, and it just ends. And I think there could have been a stronger ending gag. I mean, is it the worst? No, but I still think this needed that extra touch, if you will. But anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, this one gets 7.5 out of 10. One thing I like doing when revisiting these really obscure ones is seeing if there is a genuine gem that needs to be rediscovered, and I don't think this is one of them. With that said, it is interesting on how bonkers the idea is, and it's not the worst thing out there, but yeah, it's fine. It's not one I'm going to revisit often, but yeah, 7.5.
I would give it just a flat 7, maybe 7.5 if it wasn't so lenient on just the whole stereotype. At least with this one, you're getting something that's a little bit surprising. You might just think that it's going to go through the motions and just do Native American gags for cheap laughs like a lot of racially charged cartoons of the earlier days were, but no, this one's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the best. It's not the worst either. There's still a lot to like about this one if you can put aside the whole stereotype angle. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And until next time, take care.
That's all, folks.